language that comes from the beta male mayor of Chicago makes what you're about to see, and I'm not just talking about the report that you're about to see. I'm talking about what's actually said at the very, very end by the mayor, or at least the message that was sent out. It makes it kind of confusing, giving his past on this issue.
Did not attend Officer Weska's funeral after Weska's family allegedly asked him to stay away. The mayor told media last night he would be at the service at St. Rita, but State Comptroller Susana Mendoza, whose brother is on the police force, tweeted last night at Officer Weska's visitation, his grief-stricken mother asked Representative Angelica Guerrero Cuellar and me to please tell Chicago's mayor he was unwelcome at her son's funeral. We both called him before 10 p.m. asking he please honor her wishes. This morning, the mayor sent an updated statement saying he would not be there. The mayor said in part, "My heart is with the Weska family today. God bless them and God bless the city of Chicago." It's the first time in recent memory a sitting mayor has been asked not to attend the funeral of a fallen service member. Many police officers turned their backs. You'll remember this on Mayor Lori Lightfoot when she visited Ella French, her partner Carlos Yanez, at the hospital. That was in the year 2021, but Lightfoot still attended.
Here's the same guy who said that the rioters, the protesters, the ones in the city of Chicago, the young black scholars were, you could also include white and Hispanic scholars, the young kids that were causing all the problems in those riots, those flash riots in Chicago. He's the same person who said that they were just hungry, you know. So I'm not really surprised that, you know, he's now coming back saying, I feel bad, when obviously he initially took the side of the Dexter Reed side, or at least the side of Dexter Reed when that situation happened. So I don't think there's a whole lot more to say when it comes to Mayor Brandon Johnson, but we'll cover Mayor Brandon Johnson more in the second half, because this video, of course, is about the overall theme of police and policing as a whole. But there's also been some other incidents. However, before I show you what happened in Charlotte, I want you guys to go ahead and hear this now. This video right here will be about the overall theme of policing itself and why it is that police departments are being picked off. So make sure you guys stick around for the full video.
Out of North Carolina, 3 U.S. Marshals were shot and killed, and 5 other officers wounded while serving a warrant in Charlotte. Officials say the U.S. Marshals Fugitive Task Force was trying to serve a fugitive warrant this afternoon when the suspect opened fire from inside a home. The wounded marshals were rushed to the hospital where they died. The suspect was found dead in the front yard. 2 other people found alive in the home are being questioned. Police believe there were 2 shooters.
It's been said this is a tragic day for law enforcement, and I agree with that. 3 U.S. Marshals killed while serving an arrest warrant, and also another Charlotte police officer that was killed as well. I'm not going to sit here and talk much about policing itself, because obviously I'm not a cop. I do everything I can to be as fair when it comes to these situations as humanly possible. I view the police as obviously necessary, but I also see where it is that some departments could be, quite frankly, under very, very bad rule. And I can see how it is that bad cops, which by the way is only about 3% of each department, can be a problem. We also see more and more scandals coming out of the bigger cities, and we also see situations where obviously we got to ask ourselves a question. When did this negativity start? Now, this video started out with the mayor of Chicago, who, by the way, Brandon Johnson, is actually in the process of getting recalled. We may cover that in a later video. I want to see exactly how far it goes before I decide to actually do a video on that. But you guys obviously saw at the very, very beginning that we led with the situation in Chicago. But I want to talk about the overall policing first to kind of preamble this video. Then we'll get to Chicago, and then we'll come back and talk about exactly where this stuff actually came from. But before we go any further, prayers for those who lost loved ones in Charlotte, especially if you were a loved one connected to the 3 U.S. Marshals that lost their life, and also the police officer who lost his life, and also to go on top of that, everybody else that got harmed, because the initial reporting on that incident was it was actually 5 police officers who were wounded. I'm just throwing that out there before we go any further. Now let's get to what's going on in Chicago.
Those expressing condolences to the fallen officer's family today, but the mayor did not attend the funeral after learning that the officer's grief-stricken mother said he was not welcome. ABC 7 political reporter Craig Wall joins us now with more on that. Craig.
Judy, this decision by the family causing a bit of a political stir. Last night, the mayor, in his public schedule, said he would be attending the funeral, despite being told earlier in the evening by two public officials, including Illinois Comptroller Susana Mendoza, that the family did not want him there. This morning, the mayor relented and decided he would stay away.
As Brandon Johnson should stay away. Look, I want to go ahead and say this really quick. If you guys, really quick, I did a video on this not too long ago. The New York governor, Kathy Hochul, she was asked to stay away from the funeral of a slain officer. Was awake, to be exact, but also the funeral too. When you don't have the police officers' backs, if you don't have firefighters' backs, if you don't have first responders as a whole back, and I've said this before, that regardless of what you may think of the police, they are a necessity. Even to those people out there who say, well, all we really need is fire and EMS, that right there's a load of crap too, because police are the ones who secure the scene before fire and EMS even show up. They're the ones who have to tell you the scene's secure for fire and EMS to come pick you up while you're dying of a heart attack. The point is this right here, they're a necessity. But still, though, at the same time, when you don't get their back, don't be surprised that the families don't say, piss off. But let's continue.
Retired police officers and others say they can't remember a time when the family of a Chicago police officer told a Chicago mayor he or she was not welcome at the funeral.
It's a powerful message. They're basically saying that they do not want the most powerful, most prominent, most important member of the city, the mayor of the city of Chicago, to participate in this very important event.
It says that, the appetite right now of the political movement against the police is noticed by citizens, noticed by family members.
The mayor's change of heart and schedule coming only about an hour before the funeral of Officer Luis Huesco was set to begin.
It shows tone deafness, and it also shows a lack of respect.
I don't know how they want to try to frame this. This lady right here, when she was saying it shows a tone deafness and a lack of respect, I really and truly don't know what she's talking about, because a big part of me when I first saw this thought that she was talking about the mayor. Then I realized that she was a political analyst and she was probably talking about family. Either way, it's not tone deaf at all for the family to tell the mayor to piss off, especially this mayor here. This is the same mayor who recently took the side of Dexter Reed when he was obviously in the wrong. This is the same mayor that during the flash riots, right before he got elected, when he was running for office, called the rioters, basically said that they were just hungry. Cops are the enemy. That's basically what I'm saying. This is the attitude that's been kind of permeating with these mayors. But let's continue.
The mayor, without addressing the controversy, said in a statement, "As mayor, I vow to continue supporting our police and first responders, uniting our city and remaining committed to working with everyone towards building a better, stronger, safer Chicago. My heart is with the Huesca family today." The last time anything close to this happened was in 2021, when officers turned their back on Mayor Lori Lightfoot when she went to visit the family of wounded Officer Carlos Yanez at the hospital, despite being asked to stay away. Today, there were a number of other elected officials who attended Officer Huesca's funeral, the police superintendent choosing to focus instead on his fallen officer, not the controversy.
I'm not going to get into politics or anything surrounding this funeral. I am not going to take away from the real focus here. And the real focus is that of Officer Luis Huesca and his family.
Now, last week, the officer's family had also informed the governor's team that they did not want him to attend the funeral. The governor saying today that a lot of times families do not want the complications that come from political figures attending the funerals. He says he always does what the family requests. Not sure exactly what happened with the mayor's office. They were not able to tell us.
A lot of people, right there to answer that last point, were criticizing former President Trump for going to that cop's wake in New York and then coming out and giving a speech afterwards. You could probably argue that that was actually political, and you could say that obviously there's a lot of hypocrisy here. The problem is this right here with that argument. If you know the former president, then you would know he's actually always been pro-law enforcement, especially NYPD. So they probably didn't really see it as a problem, him showing up because of support level. I'm pretty sure there was somebody grumbling in the back. He's just here for a photo op. He's just here for this. No. The former president always had a pretty solid track record of being pro-police. Meanwhile, the current president of the United States chose to go to a fundraiser while there was a Free Palestine protest going on outside, said, fundraiser where he had Stephen Colbert and a bunch of other losers out there who basically are just going to come over there and just, whatever. Don't want to get in trouble with YouTube. But the point is this right here. The police department is obviously going to play this. A good police department can say, we don't want to get involved in the politics of this. But Mayor Brandon Johnson, to sit here and say that he wants a safer Chicago, I think is one of the biggest jokes I think I've ever heard anybody ever tell. There's a reason why it is he's getting recalled. And about Master Splinter, that's what Jericho Green calls her, Lori Lightfoot. She looks like a fish. That's all the hell I'm going to say. These were two of the worst mayors in American history, at least as far as Chicago is concerned. Rahm Emanuel was bad too. And that right there leads us to the conversation of mayors and, of course, why it is there is such a, let's just say, such an animus for cops nowadays, because I believe that the answer is much, much simpler than people think. I'm showing you guys some stuff here in the B-roll footage of an officer who was slain when Bill de Blasio was mayor of New York. And let me just go ahead and say this really quick. Bill de Blasio probably goes down as the worst mayor in that city's history. I actually thought it was a joke that he was even allowed to run for president on the Democratic ticket back in 2020. I would have actually loved to seen him and Bloomberg on the same debate stage. I think Bloomberg would have actually torn him apart based upon his mayoral record, but Bloomberg wasn't any better. The guy's a total psycho himself, but still at the same time, you got to admit Bloomberg did a better job of running New York City than Bill de Blasio. But I want to go back to this moment so that way you guys can kind of see the animus building up from the side that's pro-law enforcement towards the mayors at that point in time. And you probably got to ask yourself a question. Why are so many cops leaving the profession? Well, let's run this old report so that way you guys can see. And I'm going to run it all the way through its entirety, a little over 2 minutes, close to 2 minutes. We're going to get back on the other side and talk about exactly why it is there's such animus towards police and why it is that the cops are being viewed as targets at this moment in time.
From the commissioner not to do it. Many officers once again struck a defiant tone towards Mayor de Blasio at the funeral. CBS 2's Steve Langford was there.
After a long time listening,
not backing down, hundreds of police officers and some civilians turning away as the mayor of New York City speaks at the funeral for Detective Wenjin Liu. Some even choosing to face a wall rather than show deference to Bill de Blasio, seen and heard on a large video screen.
he wanted to help others in everything he did.
Some police officers from the NYPD and other departments do not turn their backs. But at this location, a block from the funeral home, most officers make clear their hostility toward Mayor de Blasio, though few will speak.
Just no respect for the mayor. Nothing else to say.
If I was still working, I would have turned my back.
This woman, a street cop in the 84th precinct in the 1970s, she says, doesn't care that the police commissioner told the department mass protest against the mayor at the service for Detective Rafael Ramos. Quote, a hero's funeral is about grieving, not grievance.
Well, that's his opinion. He has to say what he's told to say.
The moment the mayor finishes his remarks, police officers turn once again to face the funeral as Commissioner Bratton speaks.
We have to band together and show support to one another to continue,
But it may be the average citizen who understands the wider impact of the tragedy that continues to divide.
This hurts all of us, and in more ways than people actually realize.
The wounds that do not easily heal. In the Dyker Heights section of Brooklyn, Steve Langford.
I love how it was that retired lady was explaining she basically in so many, let's just say that so few words said exactly what most cops were feeling. You see, when cops die in the line of duty, obviously it's a sad day for police officers. Regardless of how the fellow officer may have felt, you're still your brother in blue, you know what I'm saying? Same thing with firefighters. It's the same thing for those who serve in the military, especially for Marines. There's a certain kinship, a certain brotherhood that's there. You don't have that kinship and brotherhood in these neighborhoods. The real reason why it is that cops are being viewed as targets right now and such an easy target to hit is not just the political environment that was created by the current politicians or the previous politicians, like say Obama, who, by the way, went out of his way to rail against the police in every single situation. We'll take Eric Gardner, for example. The Eric Gardner situation looked very, very bad. I remember that. Of course, this is the guy who got caught selling Lucy's, cartons of cigarettes, the guy that we're investigating in New York. Show up, eventually arm comes around his neck, they goes to the ground, he screams, I can't breathe. And then, of course, when you actually get to the official hearings on what happened, it was determined that there was no way in hell that Eric Gardner could say, I can't breathe. He couldn't say I couldn't breathe, because if he can't breathe, then quite frankly, he can't speak. It's pretty obvious he could breathe. That's the actual point. That right there was what was determined in that case. Like I said, when it comes to law enforcement, a lot of times it looks bad on the surface, but if you just let the facts come out, then you'll get a much, much clearer picture. There was a situation in South Carolina where the guy grabbed at another guy's taser, that right there being the officer whose taser was grabbed at. So what did the officer do? He pulled his pistol out, took a shot at him. Well, that right there on the surface obviously looks pretty bad, but I found out when I was in the law enforcement academy that if you try to grab an officer's weapon, that's pretty much a green light for them to shoot them, and it's actually preferred that you do so, and the reason why is because they just showed you that they were a threat. Also, something else too, if the guy comes in there and they grab your taser, pull it out, and they shoot you, they could then take your gun and shoot you or shoot other people. I'm just saying. And by the way, they were arguing that case when I was in the law enforcement academy the second time around, when I was actually in SCAT, where a lot of this type of stuff actually gets discussed. Trying to grab an officer's weapon, why it is that the police officer is now justified to shoot said individual, stuff like that there. I want a police officer to please come in the comment section and further expand on this. I would really appreciate that. I was never a cop, just a guy who graduated the academy and then decided not to get hired. A lot of this right here was because of the reasons I'm talking about now, the war on police, the war on cops, which intensified when Obama was in office. That right there was shortly after Mayor Bill de Blasio got elected. And he was already preaching the anti-cop narrative then. A lack of understanding, a lack of knowledge on why it is that cops are the way they are. I remember the Ma'Khia Bryant situation. Check this one out. If you guys remember, this right here was the situation where the officer shot the young girl who was trying to stab another woman. Obviously, I can't show you the full clip. I'm trying to edit that clip in or whatever I can find on it. But that girl was about to kill another person. So the cop was justified in putting Ma'Khia Bryant down. I remember showing that same video clip to a friend of mine, and she was screaming, "Why couldn't he tase her? Why couldn't he tase her?" He was 15 feet away from her. He didn't have time to. Okay? And even if he had tased her, it's not a guarantee that's going to work. Only about 80% effective. The exact same thing when it comes to OC spray. But a lack of knowledge is not the real culprit here. Everybody's going to have a lack of knowledge. I mean, dude, I've always been a little bit more on the side of the police when you actually look at the situation, of course, except in those irritating circumstances that we all run into. But still, at the same time, though, just change your behavior. You'll be okay. Stop breaking the law. It won't be a problem. The thing is this right here. Lack of knowledge is to be expected. You're not going to know every damn thing, so nobody's going to beat you up for it. Of course, we all have reactions. Take George Floyd, for example. We all had reactions to that. Our heartstrings were obviously tugged at when that happened. We thought it was screwed up, but then we got the full facts and we found out what the hell was really going on. Next thing you know, we realized that Chauvin was done wrong and was being done wrong. But then that brings us back to the politicians and the very, very weak-kneed politicians who run these areas and the very, very weak mayors. You see, when you have weak mayors, it creates a level of social alienation. First of all, it's the cops. Well, if the cops don't respect the mayor, then why the hell should we respect the mayor? Why the hell should we respect the city? And of course, I got friends of mine from New York who told me that, hey, look, man, they hate de Blasio and they actually hate Cuomo both, but they keep voting for them because of all the free crap they get. Like, for example, if you get a ticket in New York or if you get in trouble, all you got to do is just show up to court on time and they give you free Mets tickets. Anonymities that quite frankly are given to people. But if you keep giving people anonymities and prizes just for simply doing what they're already supposed to be doing anyways, what a sane, rational, responsible adult will be doing, after a while they're going to take advantage of the system and they're not going to have any respect for you. That flows downhill. It's like the old saying, crap rolls downhill. It trickles down. They have no respect for the mayor. They don't really like the mayor, but yet they'll vote for the mayor to keep the mayor in office to get the free shit. So guess what will happen? After a while, they see the mayor treating the cops like crap, so guess what they're going to do? They're going to treat the cops like crap. Cops are the ones who are obviously getting screwed here. Also, not to mention the fact that people already don't have pride in their neighborhoods. They don't have pride in their nation. And you're seeing this now with the protests that are going on in New York. But of course, there was one particular sad incident where the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, they had students that obviously decided to stamp them up. That right there got covered in Thursday's video. This video here is coming out on Friday. The point is this right here. If you have a lack of respect in leadership, guess what? You're not going to have much respect for those who serve the city. Same thing with those who serve the uniform. We have a president right now in office who's absolutely horrible. He's not respected by anybody. But they'll vote for him and they'll keep him in office because they know he keeps the free crap flowing for them. There's a complete, total lack of respect. If they've got no respect for him, guess what? They've got no respect for law enforcement. They've got no respect for you. That right there is where this crap comes from. And that right there is why cops are right now a sudden mark for everybody out there in society, especially these very, very bad actors. I understand this right here was a bit of a rant, but that right there is the real reason why it is that law enforcement right now is viewed more as a target than it is to be respected. No pride in your city, no pride in your nation, no pride in your neighborhood, eventually is going to lead to complete, total lack of respect and lack of accountability. That right there is the main reason why it is, or the three main reasons why it is that cops are right now an actual target. I know the last section was a bit of a rant, but I figured I'd close it on that one right there instead. But you guys, please tell me what you think in the comment section. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe. Please share the video. We got 2 videos coming out this weekend. One about this little phenomenon called Christian atheism, which quite frankly doesn't really make a whole lot of sense if you actually boil it down. And of course, we're also going to be asking that same question, the same question that we asked about the OnlyFans model, Nala Ray. This time it's going to be about Russell Brand. So make sure you guys stick around for that. Please leave a comment in the comment section. Tell me what you guys think. Like button, subscribe, share the video. I'll see you guys later.